Welcome to the 7th show of What's Happening in Augusta. I am John Picciotti, State Representative of District 108, which consists of Fairfield, Mercer, and Smithfield, and of course the fine people of Maine. And today I would like to welcome our Senator of Fairfield, Benton, Waterville, Senator Scott Sirway. The fine senator will be with us today to discuss the past 2 weeks in Augusta and what to expect in the upcoming week. We've been working, probably between 10 to 14 hours a day the last week or two, trying to be able to finish by our closure date of June 17th, I'm sorry, but there's probably still a good chance that the will be extended beyond that point. However, the biggest item on the agenda probably right now is the budget. And what do you think on this matter, Senator?
Well, I think they're actually coming close to, before I get going, I just want to say that I represent Clinton and Winslow.
I'm sorry.
And also Unity Plantation besides Fairfield, Waterville, and Benton and Albion. So just thought I'd let you know that.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay, and that's District 16, and that's 35,000 population, I think, so. Anyway, just on this budget situation, I think the budget situation is really coming good. I mean, a lot of times you hear a lot of things from the press. The press likes to really make things more than what they really are. But I think that it certainly has been an interesting way of coming about to get the budget done, but I will say that the governor has made the legislature really think on how we can actually get the budget balanced, but yet have a good way of thinking differently how we can make the budget work, but yet make it better. So I think they've been working hard at it, and yeah, there's always those times when you're going to be frustrated and not quite agreeing on certain things because we all have differences. But I'll tell you, I have a lot of respect for all the legislators. This is my first term, and I'll tell you, we get along well with everybody, and I think they all respect each other. I think they just have differences, and I think that's what makes this work. So I think they will have a budget, possibly the very first part of this week, the way it's going. They have very little differences at this point in the game. I think that it's coming good, so that's what I think. Right now.
Well, I think we're having it was actually going to be Sunday night, but they moved it to Monday night, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are having a caucus at the Republican House part is having a caucus, which tells me that they do have probably an agreement of somewhat of the budget, because that's what they would, usually that's what happens.
That's right.
That level.
Yeah, and that's probably what's going to happen. So the budget, it's governed by responsible people, and they do not want a shutdown. I know I get a lot of emails saying, don't let a shutdown happen. Well, I expressed it myself to both the House leader and to the Senate leader that we do not want to shut down and that we want to get this worked out. And they all are in agreement. They all want to get this done. So I think that that's where we're at. So
I agree. I've seen a lot of, there's a lot of stuff out there. There was an ad that I heard yesterday from a group that I never heard of, which the Maine Small Business Alliance, and I was trying to figure out, and I did a little bit of research, and then I find out that it really, all it is a name listed under the Maine People's Alliance, because it was such a negative ad, and it was like it was coming from small business owners, and not even close.
right.
And there are people out there that are just trying to stir things up on a constant level, and we do a very good job in the House and the Senate, as you said, to work together and to get it going. Yeah, we have our differences of opinion
Right.
and stuff, but we get the job done.
Sure. And right, I guess that by the end, at the end of this last Friday, we had 125 bills on the House and Senate floors, and then now we get 150 more waiting to be reported out from committees. So it's going to take a little bit of time still.
Yes.
And we're waiting for administrative matters to, such as the fiscal notes, and also the expectation still is to adjourn June 17th, which I don't know if that's going to happen because we've got a lot of bills to still
We've got,
deal with.
we started last Monday and we've been running 70 to 75 bills a day. And we have to maintain that level to be done by the 17th.
Right.
And there will be a slowdown
Yeah.
of Summit. Actually, yesterday there was a bit of a slowdown because we had some pretty, pretty contentious bills. You've probably got a list of them, but I know in the House was 3 of the union bills. And I know both of us voted for the union. And we have, and we got them actually defeated
Yep.
because they were anti-union bills. And,
Right.
Whether you believe one way or the other way around here, hey, the union works.
Well, we have Huhtamaki, we have, SAPI, and we have several big organizations that, they try to survive and have careers for their families and whatever, and we respect that. And I was in a union for law enforcement, with Fraternal Order of Police, and so it does have protections, it does have something to help you in case of situations, and I respect that. So I think that, certainly I think that they have that place, so.
Yeah, there was one of the bills that I had a little bit of problem with, but then after I started thinking about it and talking, it came up, and that was the companies collecting union dues for the union. And why do they have to do that, and it costs them this money? But then, in talking with different people, and it makes sense, it's a negotiated item.
Right.
If they don't want it,
Yeah.
they can negotiate it out.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not something that we need to make a law over.
No. And there's been some good discussions and really good situations. And, I guess there was a bill the other day about 50 people, if it was a business smaller than 50
Yes,
people.
Yes.
That they were trying to take their insurance, I believe, they were gonna let it go out for, if they wanted to locate and get a
Right.
different one
Right.
to make it cheaper. And that was through the Pine Zone, what do they call it, it was a Pine Tree Zone, bill.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what it was.
But I know we defeated it.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, those are situations that come up. And another one, as far as we had the constitutional carry bill,
Yes.
that was a big bill. I was totally against constitutional carry. And, being in law enforcement, I feel that training and screening is probably one of the number two things that really need to be looked at. And so I held my ground for a long period of time. It was tough because I was outnumbered.
Slightly.
I was outnumbered. So I held out to the very end, and then when I realized that voting no would not have got me anywhere, but I held out and I told them the only way that I would vote yes is if we have some amendments. And I kind of pushed it on the House and the Senate, and actually I pushed it more for the House to bring it up because I wanted those amendments in there to help protect the public. And part of it was I was very concerned with the concealed carry about, it didn't mention an age. And so, it could have been any age, and that'd be having teenagers or whatever, it would have been kind of a dangerous situation. So I said, I'd like to see 21 or older. And I guess the governor did have a concern about people in the military
Right.
able to, not able to carry, so they did amend that as well, so.
Right, we fixed that,
Yeah.
that if you're between 18 and 21 and in the military, you don't
Yeah.
have to have a thing. However, actually, anybody between 18 and 21 that's eligible
Can get a
can
permit.
get a concealed permit and
Right.
still carry if they want. I've never
Exactly.
really seen any
Yep.
kids around that age carrying guns.
Right,
but,
right.
But it can be done. And the other thing was that I think helped a lot was that the state police actually backed the bill.
They did. They didn't see where there was gonna be that much of a difference.
Right.
And also, I made it so that law enforcement officers, if they pull over a person, that they let them know that they do have.
I was gonna say, you should do that
You should,
automatically anyway.
but we should put it in the words because certainly, if you don't, there'll be those that will abuse
Right.
it.
I did notice on Friday, and I made a little note of it, that the governor did actually sign 4 bills into law. Then there was one that went into law without his signature, that was simply, went for the 10 days. And then there were 12 that became law that were overridden. They were all vetoes that were overridden in the House and the Senate, and they became law. So we gave them a little feedback on those.
Yeah,
And there was 4 resolves that went into law without the governor's signature, and 1 resolve that was a veto override. So all in all, Friday, we had 22 bills that became law.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty awesome.
It's moving forward.
The thing about vetoes is that they're considered totally on their merits. It's not bipartisan or anything like that. It's more bipartisan type votes. It's basically looking at what the bill is and then figuring out if it's really something that we should have. I sometimes, we've read what the governor puts, and he really does think things out and reason why he vetoes them. But sometimes he may not have been during our discussions and seen what really is going on with it. And so this is why it's good for us to relook at it. Just for example, I had an argument on these Narcan. It's a drug that they can actually spray a mist for somebody that's an overdose victim and bring them back out of it. And we do have, I guess, last session, in the 125th, that they... 126th, they brought the law enforcement officers and I believe first responders could use this Narcan to use on the people immediately, and it would bring them back at 80 to 90% success rate.
Yep.
And so this bill that was introduced by Dr. Gratwick, our Senator Gratwick, he introduced it and he wanted to allow it for friends and family. And even the Sheriff's Association had backed it up. But from my experience, I've worked with first offender programs with kids. I've been for 13 years. I was program coordinator for the jail, for our substance abuse programs, and also I was an assistant jail administrator for 2.5 years. And so I look at this from a perspective of not looking from us to the person that's overdosing, but I'm trying to think of the perspective from the overdose victim to the outside. And when you get into overdosing, you are into strong drugs. And they are looking at a high. And so they don't care. What they're gonna be doing is taking and saying, do you have your Narcan with you? To the friend, and then they're gonna do it, and they're gonna see how far they can go with it.
Yeah. It's a
So
dangerous.
this is a dangerous situation, and you're enabling them. And so, you know, this is where my concern was, and I expressed it to the Senate, and actually changed Dr. Gratwick's, the Senator Gratwick's opinion, and he actually voted against his own bill.
Okay.
So, there you go. I mean, this is why we have the system that we have today. And even with the governor's vetoes, it's nice to have some, other people's opinions to be put into it. It's nothing against, when we go and override the governor's veto, it doesn't mean that we override it just to get back at him or anything. It's just the merits of the bill itself. And that's what I'm trying to get across here.
Yeah.
The governor has all good intentions of doing the best he can for the Maine. And I'll tell you that he has a passion. I've sat in his office, talked to him. I really respect the governor. He has a mission. He really wants to do the best he can for Maine. Certainly, everybody has differences of opinions, and that's what makes this government work. And he, as a manager, he is the top guy, and he's trying to set the stage for everybody else, which I think has really helped us in looking at our tax structure differently, which he accomplished. And that's great. I think that's a good thing. So the media will look at the little things that happen, and they focus on that, rather than looking at the whole picture of how it's all coming about. So I think that's what the media has actually missed.
Yeah, well, and they also miss, and a lot of the bills have great names and they sound good, but there are very strong unintended consequences within those bills, and consequently, some of them get passed, and then all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, well, that funding over at that question on the funding of the
Roger
energy.
Cates' bill.
Yeah, the energy. Forgetting to put one silly word in there, unintended consequence, and now it's, you know, it's all messed up. Hopefully they can get that, because there is 2 bills in there, and hopefully we can get that meshed in and get that taken care of before the end of the session also.
Yeah, and, you know, Roger Cates Senator Cates mentioned how he really truly believes, and he was sad in it last year when this was approved, or the year before, and that it was just missed. And that it's, to me, it's very important if you go by what the intent was. And so I think it was only right to have that put back in.
Right.
So, yeah.
You got a couple of bills you want to
Yeah, I did the Blue Alert bill. I think that's a very important bill. It's for any law enforcement officer that's been shot, killed, wounded, or missing in action. This bill would help get the broadcast system out there to help locate an officer, or maybe locate the suspect, if there was a suspect that had shot an officer, or if the officer's missing, to help locate him. This is also, it connects so that you would have a phone number to call, and you can actually text, and you can actually give the information, any information that would lead to getting the case solved. And so it's actually worked in a few states, and it's in 21 states now, and I believe 10 have applied, trying to get into it. And I think eventually it will be a total national program. So this had gone unanimously in committee, voted in, and also it went through the House and the Senate.
Yep.
And it's also been signed by the governor. So just in a few more months, this should be law. It'll be in effect. So I'm anxious to work with the state police and public safety and get
Yes.
this on board. So I think that's a great bill that I introduced. And then we also had a situation when I'm on the committee for Veterans and Legal Affairs. I'm the chair for that, and it was concerning. I first got into it in January, and I was approached by the Lottery Commission to go along with putting Keno operations in. And those Keno is kind of like a Beano in a way. You have 80 numbers, and you pick 10 numbers, and you wait about 4 minutes, and on the screen, it will come up, and then it'll give you whether you win or not. And it's a banking game. It's not like the scratch tickets, but they tried to make it sound like it would be very similar to scratch tickets, but they would have Keno rooms in your store or your restaurant or your Legion or wherever it is, and kids were not kept out of it. I mean, you could have the kids stand right beside you, and so this was very concerning to me. And it would be in 150 locations to begin with, and then within 2 years, they want 300.
Yeah, kind of like the slot machines in Las Vegas, where
Sure.
you look at every grocery store, and right at the front of the grocery store is 5 or 6, 10 slots.
Exactly, and they said that they didn't need to go through the committee to do this, and that's what really was concerning to me. I said, well, we're going to put a bill in. Representative Louis Lucchini from Ellsworth assisted me with it. He's the co-chair for my committee, and we put a bill in to stop it because we felt that this would harm our state and take money from the people that don't need to have money taken away from them.
Right.
And I would rather see it, I mean, if you want to go to a casino, at least there's not kids going in. You're not demonstrating to them to gamble. And also it's much more controlled. So I thought that this would be a better avenue to take. They were comparing it for the Keno operation in Massachusetts, which they have no casinos.
Oh.
And so that's apples to oranges, so
Yeah.
I think certainly that doesn't even match up to.
Well, when they do that, I know I had, it actually has gotten through, of course, we'll see what happens when it gets to appropriations, but the film bill that I had presented for a larger tax break, we have tax breaks for movies right now, but it's not big enough to really bring in a steady big handful of movies. And so I put a bill in to increase from 12% to 25% tax credit. And it's also attached to that was we have a group from Hollywood coming in to do a $134 million project down in Kennebunk, putting in a film studio, hotel, and various things. But they looked at it and they tried to compare it to Massachusetts, and Massachusetts was how they were failing, and it was costing them money, and there was problems with Michigan. But again, what they didn't say was, oh, well, Massachusetts has carryover tax credits. That means they can carry that tax credit from year to year and go in, come back 3 years later and really mess up a budget because they say, okay, we want our money now, and the budget isn't prepared for it, whereas the money has come in 3 years prior to that and probably already been spent. So we eliminated all that stuff, but that's what the opponents didn't say.
Right.
And that's the same thing. They try to compare stuff and it doesn't.
I'll tell you, we've also worked on committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs on casinos. That comes up every so often, and this year we had close to 20 bills that was for casinos. And so what we did is, and it sounds like I'm pro-casino, but I've probably been in a casino 3 times in my lifetime. But anyway, I voted for the casinos only so that the people can have a voice and they can decide what they want. So if it looks like I'm pro-casino, it's not necessarily true, but I did want to make sure that the people had a voice to be able to make a choice. The situation is that there was several casino bills out there, and they all wanted a southern casino, and then there was a lot of bills for the north and the western part of the state for casinos, and there was even one bill wanted 5 casinos. So anyway, they wanted one for 5 different districts. And I said, geez, so what we did to try to solve the problem is we took and got rid of all the bills, except for one we kept as a tool to work up one casino for down south on a bid process, so that it would have to be bid on, and then it would have to go out to that town, wherever it would be placed, and also on a county level vote. And then even there's some amendments that might even be a state vote. So anyway, that's one of them. And then the other one is one for tribal. And they could have it in either the northern, and because the Maliseet tribe would like to see it in Holton, and the Passamaquoddies would like to see it in Calais. And so anyway, there's the tribal tribes. We tried to make one committee bill, so there was a tribal casino bill, and they would bid on this, and you would have all the tribes involved in order to get that bid process, so that they could be all involved in it. So that's what we tried to do, is just make it fair for everyone, have the people vote for it, or the senators in the House. It'll have to go through that process first, then it will go out. But from a committee standpoint, we just wanted to get it out there and let that take place.
Right, and I think that's good. And where we're talking about too are areas. I think the one down in southern Maine is in right next to Scarborough Downs.
That would be one location. They're looking at York as well, near York Beach.
Yeah.
Bedford, Saco area.
And up north, the Maliseet one would be one that would draw in, because we do not have a population big enough to support casinos.
Right.
The state of Maine is not, and we don't have the big, contrary to the belief of all the rich people that we're cutting taxes for.
Right.
We don't have those rich people around that are betting in a casino. So up in the Maliseets, for example, you're going to attract the local Canadian. You'll get that business in that. In southern Maine, you've got the New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts type situation. Yeah. So because I went to my first casino in Maine a couple weekends ago.
Yeah.
And we were just out riding around, so my wife said, well, why don't we stop at Oxford Casino, drive up there. So we were in Portland, so we headed up and did the Oxford casinos. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and there just wasn't, it was hardly anybody in there. Yeah. You walk in, the parking lot was maybe about a quarter full, and there just wasn't, and people were there. There was the tables themselves, blackjack tables and that. And the dealers just sitting there staring at the wall. There was just, and where there were people playing, there was one person at one table, one person at another table type of thing. And the slot machines were pretty much the most popular slots were the penny machines, and there weren't that many of them even going.
To be honest, I haven't even been in a casino in Maine.
Well, I did go into the casino. I did go into this casino last year in Bangor.
Yeah.
But that was to eat lunch.
There you go. But there are people that love the casinos, and I think it is, if you do it it's like if you go into the movies and you take a certain amount of money and you expect to lose that. Hey, to me, that's a fun day if you want to do that.
Right, you can relax.
Right, but certainly we always worry about people that get into addictions, and And that can be, and I had a friend that it did take them down and they lost their business and everything. So it's something that you really have to be aware about, of, and I, you know, certainly, those are tragic situations, and they do have, you know, things in place for addictions for that. But,
Right.
yeah, so, but anyway, then another thing that was kind of interesting is we do have the Amish people in the area, up in Troy and Unity, and they actually wanted to wear red instead of fluorescent orange for hunting, and because fluorescent orange is against their religion. And so I'm on also the committee for inland fisheries and wildlife. I'm a co-chair for second chair for that, and I work with Senator Paul Davis, who's the chairman. And Senator Paul Davis and I, and also Representative Shaw, Mike Shaw, all voted to allow Amish people to wear red on their own property. We did not feel in a public area or somebody else's property that they could go to fluorescent orange, but we did at least respect that their religion, and they're very nice people. They really take care of their properties. They do no crimes hardly. You never hear of it. They're, you know, they're respected. We didn't see a problem with that. But certainly there are, on the other side of things, if you allow one to do it, there's possible another situation to come up.
Well,
and I understand
that's
that
good.
point of view.
And that did not make it through the House.
Right.
It was,
And
we just felt that it was just too dangerous, I guess, is the aspect of the majority of the House.
And we respected that, but we felt that they needed a voice, and we felt that, you know, from our viewpoint, that, you know, you always like to kind of reward the citizens that do really good things, and they do. I mean, they keep farming industry going, they do a lot of good things.
I'm familiar where I lived a portion of my life was in the Midwest, and you know, there's quite a few. They had actually one of the areas they weren't called Amish, they were called Mennonites.
Yeah.
And basically the same thing. And then in Iowa they have a big Amish community also that I'm familiar with. So yeah, no, they're good people and stuff like that. It was just, we were just afraid that somebody else would start wearing red, and then all of a sudden it just takes, you know.
We understand, and I think these are the tough decisions you make, and the tough decisions out there.
Yeah.
Another one we had was hunting licenses for out-of-state college kids. And, you know, we wanted to make it enticing for college kids that are from out of state to come in Maine and to be able to go hunting and fishing and do outdoor activities that would entice them to stay here. And so we put those licenses at the same cost as it would be for a residence license. So I think that was fair.
Yeah.
So that was one that
we've always had that. I know in the military, when I was at Winter Harbor, we were allowed, you know, we had Maine license for hunting and fishing, and there was never any problem.
Right.
You know, actually, we were even allowed to hunt on state-owned land.
And that passed the state and the House unanimously.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And so that's, to me, it was really great. And if we can do some things like that, there's certainly, we have for youth days too, for deer hunting, and now we have one for bear hunting we just put in. And so, and then it's also, there's fishing weekend that you can go fishing without a license.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I went on the governor's bass tournament.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Down in
Unfortunately, I had another other
Yeah.
conflict there, so.
I did go to that, and we had, you know, a great time. There was some professional bass fishermen there, and took us on their boats, and we competed, and I actually got first place for the largest smallmouth bass,
Very good.
the lunker, and then second place overall for the weight.
Excellent.
So that was pretty good. It was pretty awesome. Had a great time. It was down in Cobussy, and we got bass about 18.5 inches long, so pretty nice.
Yes.
And that was from Birch's Campground. We went. Another thing that Senator Burns and Senator Davis and I, Senator Burns and David Burns and Senator Paul Davis and I are retired officers, and they're both retired state troopers. And we've been noticing how police officers are looked at and how over the nation. And this is a big concern.
Yes.
And you know, it just seems like every day there's a new video involving police officers that's gone viral, and it's dominating the news on how bad police officers are. Well, as you know, you can take a video, a quick one, and you only see a caption of what actually is taking place. Not to say that a lot of these police officers probably should have reacted differently in their scenarios or situations, but that it's not 100% foolproof on making a quick decision at the moment and doing it properly.
Right.
One of them, I guess, apparently apologized to a lady on how he reacted because he just went through 2 serious situations. And I'll tell you, if you don't go and get, you know, some type of way of venting and talking to somebody about those serious situations, it can really put a lot of stress on a person, and that they can only handle so much. And so I think it's really important to understand what law enforcement officers go through. But as a rule, most of them are all trying to do a good job because they're in the job to help people. It's not for the money, because law enforcement officers do not make big money. It certainly is not for the glory, because it can be a thankless job, because you are dealing with some of the worst scenarios, and the worst situations, and the worst areas that you go into. And so, you know, I just hope that you understand that law enforcement officers work hard to get where they are. They go through academy training, which is very rigorous. They have to run, they have to do push-ups, exercise, they have to learn all the laws, they have to be able to drive, take driving courses, they have to do first aid, they have to, you know all this stuff.
Kind of like a boot camp.
It is a boot camp. And so it's a lot of discipline, and as a rookie, you learn as you go lots of times, because you may start out with kind of like you want to do your best, and you want to try to you know, get everything accomplished, and sometimes they may ticket people more often than they would as their seasoned officer, and we realize that. And but as you, most officers are doing it for the right reasons, and so all we ask is that you respect what they are doing, or respect them. I think that it should be no different than a soldier that goes out and fights for your country. They are fighting for your safety here in the United States.
Effectively, it's the same thing. It's
Yeah,
just
it really is.
being done here instead of
That's right.
somewhere overseas.
Yeah. So I think that's a very important piece that I.
Yeah, people don't, and I know that they're trying to, I don't know, I grew up in the 50s and remember back when we had tremendous racial problems. Martin Luther King, what he accomplished and did and everything else. Today, it appears to me that that there are just a few people out there trying to make a name for themselves and just continue to turn the button, because I don't really think that we have that racial problem. It's not, I know it isn't near what it was back when I was growing up, and the changes that were made. And I mean, you know, you develop friends. It doesn't, you don't look at what color or what race or whether they're black or yellow or whatever it is. And it's just a shame that these people keep trying to pound on it and make it racial. And I feel bad for the police officers, because they don't, you know, that's what they're focusing on. And, you know, and unfortunately, like I said, there's some of them, and I'll mention the name Al Sharpton, who was just strictly out there to make a name. He was not well liked by Dr. King, I know that.
Right.
Back then.
Oh, yeah?
There was a couple of him, and neither him or Jesse Jackson was not on Dr. King's good list.
Good list.
I guess, if that's what you call it, and I don't want to get into that, but
Right.
but you're right, and I think that's what's causing a lot of the problems within the, you know, those actions.
Yeah. And one other bill that came up is for young individuals who they may have gone out drinking or drugging, and their friend overdoses, and then they can call 911. Well, there's been a discussion whether the person felt like they could call 911 thinking that they would get in trouble. Well, certainly, I think parents are going to be concerned anyway. I know I would if my child was out there where there was drugs going on and somebody overdoses or whatever, but I think the key thing here, and they wanted to make it so that you can not have a criminal charge if you call 911. Well, most of the time, as law enforcement officers, when we go to an overdose situation, we are not looking at charging the people. We want to take care of that subject that's life-threatening. That's the number one thing right there. And then, other than that, most of the time, we use discretion. And certainly, if somebody's called 911, they took the time and they did it. And if anything, even if a charge did come down, generally the courts would look at that and say, hey, they did their civic duty, they were doing a good thing, and they may even just file the charge, and then if they don't do anything for a year, then it goes away.
And the DA would probably
Right.
be on board with that.
Sure. And so we really don't need this law, but I think that the number one thing I want to really stress to young people and to the public is that when you get in trouble, or if you think you're in trouble, and you see an emergency situation, whether it's a person that's overdosing, or there's a fire, or there's an accident, always report it. That is the moral and ethical thing to do. That's your civic duty. I mean, if you do that, you're going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to feel like you helped someone. And that's where, you know, you as an individual can take pride in yourself. It's when you don't do that, that's when you put people's lives in jeopardy, and then you also make yourself not worthy for respect, you know. So I don't see where letting a person off on a charge is really going to make a difference about yourself. So I think that's really...
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you just look at it, you react, and you don't even think of the consequences when
That's
you
it.
react. You're just trying to save that particular person.
That is right.
And that's what she does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will have a, you know, we're going to have a lot of fun in the next week. Hopefully by Thursday night we'll have everything settled, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
few items on that, on that budget that are gonna be welfare reform. There's probably gonna be income tax relief.
Yeah.
One of the things that concerns me, particularly at my age level, which is the increased appropriations for Maine's nursing homes, because it's been unfunded for years.
Yeah, we are working on
We
that.
cannot afford to have those nursing homes shut down.
No.
And then also better access to care for some of the severe mentally, physically, developmentally disabled who have been on this wait list forever. And we need to help those too, and the press doesn't want to give neither one of those any time at all.
Right.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then the only other thing I've got for myself,
What's that?
I was voted by the American Legion as one of the legislatures of the year.
That's right.
So I was
Congratulations.
Very, very pleased with that.
Very honored,
I
too.
believe there's seven that they had chosen. So
That's awesome.
we'll be up in Bangor next Saturday to get our award.
That's great.
At the Legion Convention.
Yeah. My brother just got an award as well. He was over at the Maine Criminal Justice Academy and received an award, Citizens Award, for helping solve a case up in Newport. He's a loss prevention manager for Rite Aid for the state.
Okay.
For the state of Maine.
Super.
And he helped solve a case where I think the lady was inside the store and got released from a hostage situation.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was very important.
Yeah, a lot of
piece
stuff
work.
out there. Whatever happened to the cold case, Bill?
It's still out there. I think what they're trying to do is checking the funding for it,
Okay,
and
yeah.
also how they're waiting to see how this budget's all going to
Comes
come out.
together, yeah.
I think that it certainly is a very important piece, and we'll wait and see how all the budget falls out. I know
Right.
we want to make sure that everybody's taken care of first, and then when these other things
Yeah,
that we can.
that we can play with
Yeah.
on the side.
Right.
Very good. Well, I thank you very much for being here. It has been very enjoyable, and I think
Yeah.
very, it's helped, I think, a lot of our viewers to figure out what's actually going on without getting the slants. It goes back to the old adage. I know growing up that I had actually was in a journalism class, but I think my mother and father also projected it. Believe half of what you hear and none of what you read. So-
Right. I was glad that I got rid of one bill. Was they were trying to bring exotic snakes and reptiles
I saw that.
into
Just what we need.
and that was
Of course, that would have only been for a half a year, because winter would have wiped them all out.
oh and certainly I know maybe the intentions for business, bringing business in is good, but that could, all it takes is one little catastrophe, or maybe somebody getting upset with each other and
Yep.
maybe letting them loose, whatever. And we had in Florida that happen, and now the southern part of Florida, 90% of the medium-sized animals are gone. You get 6, I don't know, I can't imagine how many. They've got the Burmese pythons, they got the African pythons, which are very, they're a huge snake, but they're also the most aggressive snake. And the Burmese python is the most poisonous snake.
Wow.
And they are breeding together and becoming a super snake. So now we've got that problem. So, and so, we really have to be careful on bringing these type things into our state.
Yeah.
And so I killed that bill.
Good job.
I said ought not to pass. I know, and that was a bill that I could not believe brought in. They also tried to get the koi fish in, and I killed that bill too. I actually signed on as a co-sponsor so I could follow it, so I could kill it.
That sometimes works very well.
It sounds like you're for it, but you're not.
Right.
So there are things that you see on the news and they'll say, oh, he was all for this. I just noticed a little clipping on my Facebook thing saying that I'm for casinos. And
Well,
I hardly been in any. So I guess that goes to show you how politics and media can really be
yeah, and over the last few days, we've had a few phone calls from different people. I try to return everything, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes one or two will get lost in the shuffle, but I try to return them all. And of course, they'll call when you're in session, so you can't answer the phone anyway.
Right.
You know, between that and the emails. And,
Right.
I like when I get the 10 or 12 emails, and every one of them say exactly the same thing. So I know where they're coming from, generally speaking, but I do try to, to answer people on them. But,
right. But I will say it's an honor to serve on the Senate floor, and
Yeah.
and it's an honor to work with these senators from both parties. I respect, when I see these people like Bill Diamond,
Yeah.
or Dr. Gradwick, or any of
Well,
these.
I mean, some of your Senator Davis, Senator
Yeah.
Burns, Diamond,
Roger Cates.
in the 125th, they were representatives, and so they worked. I worked with them within
Right.
the representative and
Yeah.
down on the floor. And in fact, Senator Davis was the gentleman that actually talked me into running back in 2010.
Yeah, one of my DARE students got me to run. So, well, I appreciate coming here today, and I've really enjoyed this part.
Excellent.
And I
Well,
think that
Hopefully we'll get you back here, and
Oh, yeah.
we'll have one more show to go after this one, which will be the final wrap-up of everything that went down, and if you're available,
Yeah,
I would
I'll
love
try to
help
be
you.
here.
All right.
Sure. Thank you.
And thank you to everybody, and have a good
Yeah,
week or two.
things will work out, believe me.
Holly and Doug's Country Diner, a friendly, warm atmosphere where all food is homemade. Everything from eggs, including 17 omelets, to homemade pancakes and homemade sausage, gravy, and biscuits. For lunch, there's sandwiches, wraps, meatloaf, chicken tenders, baked haddock, country fried steak or chicken, fried haddock on Fridays. We also have vegetarian meats, serving breakfast all day. Daily specials for breakfast and lunch. Open every day, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Holly and Doug's Country Diner, Waterville Road, Norwich Walk.
I started Mainly Elder Care out of a love and passion for the elderly.
Kathy is a wonderful person, and she knows what she's doing.
It's like a big family, and your clients get to be family. No matter how you, like I say, no matter how you try not to, you just do.
We will not only be your caregivers, but we will be your advocates. Please call us today and set up an appointment. Let us be there when you can't.
The Village Market, located at 95 Main Street, Fairfield, is your small town, fully stocked grocery store with that big store feel. Carrying quality vegetables, fruits, meats, deli items, and surefine products. They even have some inviting desserts. On your lunch break, stop by and grab one of the prepared, ready-to-go meals. Village Market's knowledgeable and courteous staff makes your visit an enjoyable experience. Visit them on Facebook and online at villagemarketfairfield.com. Open 7 days a week, the Village Market. We've got your groceries and more.